Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just jump right in today. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and the energy just kind of shifts? You didn't demand attention, you weren't talking over anybody, and you definitely weren't trying to be scary. Yet suddenly, everybody is acting just a little bit more careful around you. Well, today our goal is to scientifically uncover exactly why people react to your quiet, independent presence with so much discomfort. We are going to decode the psychology behind your presence.
I want you to be real with yourself about your own experiences for a second. Have you ever been slapped with labels like cold, arrogant, or unapproachable? Or maybe you've heard that classic confession, at first I actually thought you were really intimidating. It's incredibly confusing to be judged in a room when you are literally just minding your own business. You're left wondering what on earth people are seeing in you that you can't even see in yourself. Well, listen, you're not imagining it, and you're not doing anything wrong. Here is the hidden psychological mechanism that's actually at play here. People aren't reacting to overt aggression. They're reacting to microscopic behavioral signals that completely break from the societal average. It's just the way you carry yourself. These are signals so small you almost never notice them, but to the subconscious minds of everyone else in that room, they ring out loud and clear. All right, let's dive into Section 1, Breaking the Communication Rules.
Think about a pause in a conversation. For most people, if silence lasts longer than 3 seconds, they absolutely panic. They view that silence as a system error, an uncomfortable gap that desperately needs to be filled with throat clearing, checking a phone that definitely doesn't have any notifications, or bringing up the weather. But you view silence as a functional space. You comfortably use that exact moment to digest information, to actually think before you speak, or to simply exist when there's nothing valuable left to say. And that calmness creates immense, unspoken pressure for the other person.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the evolutionary science behind their panic. Like, why are they so afraid of the quiet? Well, evolutionarily, our brains associate the noise of the group with safety. So when things go unexpectedly silent, they lose the social data they rely on to feel secure. Your comfort with silence literally triggers a mild anxiety response in their amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. They instantly start wondering, wait, did I say something wrong? Are they judging me? All while you are just peacefully thinking.
And that brings us to how you actually do speak. Society pretty much runs on surface-level small talk, safe, polite scripts like, "How have you been?" But your nervous system processes information deeply. You tend to skip the warm-up routine and go straight to the core. Instead of a throwaway, "How was your weekend?" you might ask something like, "Are you actually happy with the path you're on right now?" Your genuine curiosity makes others feel exposed because you're completely bypassing their polite scripts and demanding something real. Let's move right along to Section 2, Unbreakable Personal Boundaries. Have you ever noticed how people act during an argument? Psychology calls this emotional mirroring. When someone is angry, they unconsciously expect you to match their emotional intensity. It validates them. It tells them you're just as affected as they are. But you refuse to give them that mirror. Your refusal to get swept up into their drama or match their shouting leaves them feeling incredibly frustrated and completely disoriented. Honestly, they just don't know how to handle someone they can't emotionally manipulate.
During these conflicts, a massive biological mismatch is happening in the room. While their brain is totally hijacked by the amygdala, meaning they are running on pure emotion and panic, you automatically activate your prefrontal cortex. Your brain stays rooted in calm logic and rational control. Your voice might even get a little slower and calmer. This creates such a jarring conversational gap. They're geared up for a fight, but you're just intensely focused on finding the cause and the solution.
This rock-solid boundary setting extends right into how you say no. Modern society suffers from this. Well, honestly, it's a disease of people-pleasing. We're all taught to use the sandwich technique, wrapping a simple refusal in endless apologies, over-explained excuses and promises to make it up later, all just to avoid feeling guilty. But you skip the guilt-driven explanations entirely. Because you have a crystal-clear understanding of your limits in time and energy, you take a completely different approach.
You operate by this exact quote, "No is a complete sentence." You deliver a simple, firm refusal without feeling the need to decorate it with indirect reasons. But here is the catch. This kind of radical honesty is so incredibly rare in a world of endless negotiations that people actually misinterpret your healthy boundaries as rigid, uncaring, or even arrogant. They simply aren't used to a boundary they can't cross using guilt or pressure tactics.
And it's the exact same reason you refuse to participate in drama. Most social circles bond by complaining or gossiping together. It's a super fast way to signal, "Hey, I'm on your side." But you take a step back. You maintain emotional distance and you don't rush to judge. Because you refuse to bond through shared outrage, they cannot use emotion to pull your strings. Your neutral attitude literally forces them to proceed with caution around you. Okay, let's get into our third and final section, the power of presence. Because you aren't rushing to take the spotlight, you actually have the space to constantly analyze the hidden data in the room. We're talking eye contact, subtle shifts in tone, breathing rhythms, and definitely the difference between a real and a fake smile. You notice what people are purposely avoiding mentioning, and people's subconscious minds can actually feel that they are being watched closely, and makes them feel deeply scrutinized and seen through, even if you haven't said a single word.
So why does that scrutiny make everyone else so uncomfortable? Because we live in what you could call an economy of validation. Every single day, people make these hidden emotional transactions. I'll praise you so you'll like me and approve of me. They rely heavily on outside feedback to define their self-worth. But you operate on an internal value system. You validate yourself. You absolutely don't need the whole room to nod in agreement before you believe your own opinion has value.
This crucial point is actually rooted in the psychoanalyst Carl Jung's concept of individuation. You are actively integrating every part of yourself, yep, even the imperfect parts, to become a whole, truly independent person. Because your worth isn't tied up in their applause, you're practically immune to the group pressure, the sarcastic remarks, and the quiet rejection that normally controls how people act in social settings.
When you put all this together, what it leads to is projection. If someone feels threatened by you, you have to understand that their discomfort isn't about anything you did wrong. It is purely a defensive projection. It's their own struggle to meet societal standards crashing hard against your calm independence. Standing in front of someone who isn't weighed down by the constant need for approval makes highly dependent people feel deeply confused and insecure.
It is time to completely change the narrative and reframe those negative labels that get thrown at you. When they say cold, the reality is you are calm. When they say arrogant, the reality is you are independent. And when they say scary, the reality is you are just radically honest. These are not character flaws. They are the ultimate markers of profound psychological strength. You've simply built a sense of self that doesn't bend to the wind of whatever room you happen to be in.
Which brings us to the ultimate question you have to answer today. Will you keep hiding your sharpness, shrinking yourself down just to make other people comfortable? Or will you stop questioning yourself and finally own the calm power of your presence? Remember, you simply cannot control how others react to your self-possession. Not everyone is equipped to handle a truly honest, independent personality, and that is perfectly okay. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.